Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your Planning Outlook video updated on Tuesday the 14th of November. We've got some briefly milder air pushing back northwards across the country during the middle part of this week, but as a cold front pushes through during Thursday, colder air will return and it sets the scene then for chilly conditions through Friday into the weekend. We've got strong winds, upland gales or even severe gales for a time at Friday, perhaps into Saturday. Complications further ahead, but it looks as though the general theme into the later part of November remains on the cold side. We're focusing attention towards the weekend, but a quick look at the charts for the next couple of days. This is Wednesday. We've got a weak frontal zone across the country with damp, murky air to the south of it across much of Wales, maybe the Peak District, and around coastal hills of southwest Scotland, up the western coast, towards even as far north as Skye by the afternoon. But go inland and northwards across Scotland, cloud bases much higher and well broken to the northern side of the Highlands, northern Cairngorms, the far north too. Even the borders and maybe even the Lake District might just escape in slightly drier air, which would give you a brighter picture here, although I suspect it will tend to fill in with cloud as time goes on. Winds generally very light, but will strengthen towards gale force by the end of the afternoon in the far west of Scotland. Fronts move their way through though overnight, and by Thursday middle of the day a cold front lies across England and Wales. Some heavy bursts of rain on that for a time, but it should be clearing from much of Scotland with chillier air that follows and brighter skies for a good part of Scotland, although a few showers will move into the northwest Highlands. These are some snow and hail to increasingly low levels, say down to around 500 or 600 metres. A pretty windy day I think for many places. It could be gales for a time, may tend to ease a little bit, but the far north of Scotland like to hang on to gales across the mountains most of the day. And those winds looking a bit stronger into Friday. Widespread gales or severe upland gales across the mountains of Scotland, 50-60 miles per hour quite possible, and some squally gusts that are much stronger than that at times. Showers then rattling in from the west and moving eastwards, fewer of them towards the eastern side of the Cairngorms. Snow and hail again coming down to fairly low levels, with snow accumulating over the western mountains in particular. A brighter picture for England and Wales, a few showers though moving in off the Irish Sea. Let's have a look at some temperature charts, and this shows values at 850 millibars. That's at around 4,500 feet at this time. Now through Wednesday into Thursday we're above freezing at that level, but as a cold front goes through then, as we saw through Thursday, that freezing level will drop and temperatures at that level are down to -5. That's about the height of Ben Nevis summit by that stage, so you can see that we're back very quickly to cold air. Stays with us through Friday, and if we run things on into the weekend, we'll stay with that generally cold west to northwest of the airflow. Temperatures at 850 millibars around -5 again. So you'd expect those freezing levels heading into the weekend to stay down at around 7 to 8 or 900 metres. Tricky with how things progress through the weekend though, because milder air tries to encroach back in from the southwest, and sometimes it struggles to do so, and the models maybe jump on the idea of milder air coming in a bit too quickly. The reality is that cold air can be harder to push out of the way than what modelling does suggest. So the idea may be of temperatures lifting through the weekend, but I suspect across Scotland at least we could well hang on to that cold air mass. There's the chart for Saturday then, and we've got that cold northwesterly airstream across the country. A few bands of showers coming down on that northerly flow, mainly into the far north of Scotland, the northern Cairngorms. A few bands of showers possibly just running in off the Irish Sea, although pressure is fairly high, so these may tend to fade or just be very well scattered. And a bright picture for many places, the winds tending to ease a little bit, I think, as the day goes on, as pressure does just build. Now I show you this chart for Sunday with a lot of caution because I'm not quite sure this is exactly how things will pan out, but the risk is of some fronts moving in from the west and pressure generally falling. Now this may be far too quick, it might be later on Sunday or not even until Monday, but it's the idea of something deteriorating, and we've got a risk of fronts moving into quite cold air, which could give a period of snowfall, and then the question mark then is just whether any really milder air gets in or whether we stay on the cooler side. The trouble with next week is that we're all rather stuck in between weather systems, and it's not an easy one for the models to handle when we're all in the middle ground. And this chart shows you pressure anomalies, and this is at middle levels in the atmosphere, but we can get the story that it corresponds to surface weather patterns. The idea is that we've got high pressure focused around Greenland and the Arctic regions. We've got a zone of high pressure around central southwestern Europe, and a zone of low pressure out over the Atlantic to the west of us, and low pressure over Scandinavia, which, as you can see, leaves us in the middle ground. Which of the weather patterns then plays out and wins out and dominates is critical as to the weather we'll see as the week goes on. I fancy it leans towards being somewhat unsettled, as low pressure tends to just move across the country, but it's the presence of a north north-northeasterly airstream coming out of the Arctic that is a more important one, possibly going towards the end of the month. That sort of blocking pattern that we call it over the pole around Greenland is quite a typical one to get a setup of colder, more sustained wintry weather into the picture, and that's what many of the longer range computer models have been trying to build in recent times. Much uncertainty, of course, just how things do evolve, but it's one to keep a close eye on as we head towards the end of the month. And your next full planning video will be updated on Friday. We've also been doing some shorter videos going out on our social media and YouTube channel feeds. We're going to try and get those on the website very soon as well, just to give you that extra video content for some further information to back up all the usual written files here at the Mountain Weather Information Service that are updated every single day. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.